I got a ton of stuff. I actually have so much that at some point when this gets too long, I'll just save it for next week because
I have one other thing.
They're not super like time sensitive, but this one is going to tie into something time sensitive. But I thought it was cool. My buddy James Clear told me a quote that I really liked, and I just want to see what your reaction was. So Bill Belichick is one of the best, if not the best, NFL coaches of all time. 6 Super Bowls. This interviewer asks him, what do you have left to accomplish? Why do you still coach? What are you trying to accomplish? And Bill Belichick says, I'd like to go out and have a good practice today.
Yeah.
That would be the top of my list right now, which I think is fascinating.
Yeah.
Because everybody I know, not everybody I know, but so many people I know talk about having $1 billion business or talk about being famous or talk about whatever it is, playing Madison Square Garden. And this guy who's achieved insane excellence is so focused on the process. You know what I mean? And I just thought that was really interesting.
I don't know what to make of that because I did hear an interview with Tom Brady years ago. They asked him, like, what's the next goal? You know, which ring? And they said the next ring. And it's just like, oh, Tom Brady wants rings, and Tom Brady's the best quarterback of all time. Bill Belichick wants practices. You know,
well, what was the question they asked him?
It was which ring are you most proud of? And he said the next ring.
Okay, so that's a little bit different. That he might be focused on practice as well. But what he's saying is that he's just not satisfied with the past.
More.
He's focused on the future.
Yeah. And then you go, okay, how happy are you, Bill Belichick? I don't think I've ever seen you smile.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, sorry. So this is about how to achieve excellence. This is not about how to be happy. You could also steal
plays from the Philadelphia Eagles. That would be really good. You know what I mean?
So just to be clear, I don't think Bill Belichick is someone you study if you want to be happy. I think he's someone you study if you want to achieve excellence.
To win Super Bowls, yeah.
Yeah. Well, so John Wooden?
Yeah.
So he's arguably maybe the best college basketball coach of all time. And he had a similar thing. I don't know if you know this.
Yeah, I know Wooden's pyramid. Yeah.
So do you know this? The first day of every practice, every year, what he would do?
No, I don't.
So he was incredibly well-decorated college program, right? Which meant that every year he took the best high school players in the world and recruited them to his team. And he would start the season every year by taking these star athletes.
And do layups and shit.
No, he would teach them how to tie their shoes. He would teach them how to put on socks and tie their shoes to prevent blisters so that they wouldn't have to sit out games or practices or whatever. Like the most minute and boring thing. And yeah, it was just maybe the best coach ever. So there's this weird focusing on the process that seems to lead to consistency and excellence.
I don't know a ton about John Wooden, and I think a comparison between him and Belichick might be interesting because I really am just going off of Belichick's resting gruff face.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, he's always cranky.
Yeah, and whereas Wooden, the few times I've seen him, seemed to be in better spirits. But it did seem Belichick...
And people love Wooden. His players loved him.
He seemed... The apocryphal stories of him that I had heard was he took such a personal interest in his players and cared about their lives and their lives outside of basketball. Yeah. And saw it as his job to make them the best humans they could be first and the best basketballs they could play they could be second. And I don't know where Belichick falls on that, but that seems to be a good thing to do.
No, I guess it's a contrasting very hard with the Joker video that's coming out on Monday. You know, where the Joker is just so focused on his glory moments of spoilers.
We did a video on the Joker. It's coming out.
It's coming out on Monday.
Yeah.
Spoilers if you haven't seen the Joker. But he's so focused on going up to his idol and being on his talk show and being hero worshipped there and not focused on the minutia. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And John Wooden and Bill Belichick and these guys are just so focused on the next practice.
Yeah. There's one scene that I didn't use from the Joker, and I kind of regretted it after. I might have made the point. We're talking about fantasy versus visualization, and I use, the one with Murray where he stands up. I talk about how he makes out with the girl, but there's the one scene where he's like dancing in his room with his hands above his head.
Yeah.
And he's like, "You're a really good dancer. Thanks."
Yeah.
It's just like, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Like you with your hands awkwardly held above your head. Just imagine, like, yes, people love this.
Yeah.
Complete disconnect. What was your reaction to the movie? I know you watched it after.
Yeah, I had a lot. So I had a lot of reactions to the Joker. I watched it because you had said it was good, and I wanted to be able to talk about it. Number one takeaway: gratitude for my mental health.
Yeah,
that was the absolute number one thing. Was no matter what's going on in my life, I have so much to be grateful for because I'm not heavily medicated and miserable. The guy says he's never had a happy thought in his life, and so yeah, as I was watching it, just felt so bad for the guy, and I felt very grateful for my brain.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my number one takeaway.
Yeah, I talked about that in the video where he says, I've never had a happy moment. I was like, that's not true. Like, and I get that that's a function of the experience that you're having and the mental illness that you have. But like, I think we see happy moments when he's dressed as a clown on Rare, when he's dancing in the children's hospital prior to dropping the gun.
I don't know. So I think there is this sense of putting a smile on.
Sure.
Forcing a smile on. Have you seen that meme where the guy's wearing a smiling mask but crying behind it? So I think there is a sense that it could all be fake, because I was reading about the movie by the director, and the guy said the only genuine laugh you hear is in the very end when he's in the psych ward.
Yeah.
Every other laugh in the movie is either his Tourette's or he's faking it to try to fit in, even when he's laughing at Murray.
Yeah.
So who knows? I know someone who's apparently very, very depressed, like suicidally depressed, and it's impossible to tell when you hang out with them. So they just try really hard to hide it.
Sure. Did you have any other? I mean, I kind of wrote my thoughts in the video.
Yeah, I did. What was the other thing? Oh, well, this is a weird one. So they talk about the worst part of mental illness is people expect you to behave as if you don't have it. And for whatever reason, it made me think about the fringe people who do harm because of their mental illnesses.
Dude, I've been watching serial killers all morning.
Yeah. No, and I don't really have a takeaway, but there are these people. I watched the Zac Efron movie. Who's that one about? Ted Bundy. And I don't know, but you do get this sense that it's a compulsion, that he cannot help it, because he has been arrested for potential murders, escapes, and goes out and does a murder, when what he should do is just go to Mexico and hide, right? Or something. And so it does appear like it's compulsive for some people.
Totally. No. I mean, Dahmer and Bundy say as much. And
Sure, I'm just saying, listen, I'm not in their brains. I'm not trying to excuse their behavior at all.
No.
But there's a sense of what does society do when you have these people who are born with brain chemistry that makes it so that they have to hurt other people.
And they asked Dahmer point blank in jail, would you be doing it again if you're out there? He's like, yeah, probably. Like, once it happened, he said the first time kind of happened by accident. I was fantasizing, but once the cat was out of the bag, it was not going to stop.
Yeah.
And I was going to, and he was running up against getting caught. They were both doing things that were flagrantly like, if you're trying to get away with this isn't how you go about it.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. Ted Bundy, I don't know if people know this, but Ted Bundy murdered some people, was not getting caught. Someone called in, they got a picture of him, basically sketched out. He was arrested as a suspect, but not necessarily going to jail.
Yeah.
He escapes, and the first thing he does is go to a different state and murder 3 people.
Yeah.
That is not what you would do if you were a cold, calculated murderer. You would wait a little bit, you know? Yeah, it's a crazy story when you watch it.
Well, I was looking at these guys for a video, and I haven't figured out where it might fit or not, but it's, how to spot a psychopath. And a couple of things. One, it's really hard. Like Ted Bundy, when you watch him speak, they talk about it, he's genuinely articulate. He's a convincing liar. I watched some of them on the stand. At no point was I like, oh, this guy. And I think a lot of people probably felt the same way. He killed 30 people, like it had to be a ton of evidence against him. I was like, how do you spot this? Yes, in retrospect, it's like they have no empathy for the things they've done, but you have to know what they've done at that point. They are incredibly calm. They're incredibly risky. That's the other thing. You talked about this. He just goes in the pro-con calculation that anyone else would run.
Dude, he escapes arrest twice.
Yeah.
He does not think to himself, okay, there's a chance I get off without getting into trouble, and if I try to escape from prison, I'm definitely going to get in trouble. Or like, I have a 5-year sentence, but this will be a life sentence. He just goes, oh, I see an opportunity to escape. I'm out of here. And just takes it twice.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So I was looking at these other guys. I mentioned to you the Charles Manson thing. Very interesting, because Charles Manson, I would say, of all the people, is the most synonymous with murderer in America.
That's what happens when you put a swastika tattoo on your head.
So, I mean,
you get very memorable.
I want to ask, because I've kind of spoiled it. Justin, for you, when you think serial killer or mass murderer or anybody, who's the number one person that comes to your mind? American. Let's go American.
Maybe either the Zodiac Killer or Ted Bundy.
The Zodiac.
I saw the 2 movies.
There you go.
Nice.
The Zodiac Killer. Yeah. So maybe it's
weird. I think of the Unabomber.
I was thinking Unabomber.
When you tell me like murderer with a mental illness, for some reason I think of the Unabomber.
Sure.
Did that happen when we were kids?
I don't remember, man. I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, I'm just thinking maybe that's why it sticks out.
Ted Kaczynski, that was, right? So anyway, I guess maybe it's not Charles Manson, but he's one of the guys. The new movie Once Upon a Time in Hollywood comes out. He's notorious and infamous for his thing, but I realize a lot of people don't know any of these people's stories, really.
Yeah.
Like, was it Ted Bundy or Jeffrey Dahmer that killed men? You know, if you've seen the movie, you know, but like if you haven't, these are notorious names without an understanding of the crime. And Charles Manson's is fascinating in the sense that I started out, and I might have a good video in there. I think I have one on cults. And I don't know if people care at all about cults, but I've got good stuff on cult behavior.
Oh, I think people would if the video was just how to form a cult.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that would do well.
So there's a couple angles that I wanted to mention. The first is that, the Charles Manson thing. I obviously wasn't at the funeral, the trial, but watching him interact, the guy is mentally ill.
Yep.
Clearly, he was raised in prison. His mother was a prostitute. He's been incarcerated his whole life. His ability to speak and even self-advocate is hyper limited. Like he just goes off and then he looks at you and he gets crazy, and he's got a swastika on his head, which was originally an X, but when you do listen to him talk, and I haven't seen the evidence against him, it is interesting because what everyone agrees upon is that he did not kill anyone.
Yeah. I was shocked when I found that out.
Everyone agrees upon this fact. It is that people who were in the Charles Manson family, which was the group of mostly women and one guy, that he told them to commit these murders.
Allegedly.
Well, legally, that's what it was. Now, but when I watched this, I will say it's in the simple Diane Sawyer documentary that I watched for an hour, so there might be evidence I'm not aware of. They did not present evidence that I found convincing.
It's the murder. The people that did the murder say that he he told them to.
Said it months after, like defended him through the trial, and then said we were all brainwashed, which is absolutely possible.
Sure, it's possible.
And I haven't seen all the evidence. But one of the things that really struck me was, I forget the exact words, and I don't want to put him, but the prosecutor is talking about how he knew at the onset it was going to be really tough to get this Manson guy, but that was what he wanted to do. And I was like, wait a second. Why did you want to get him at the onset of the investigation? Why did you? And maybe he misspoke. Maybe I'm trying to really not. I'm trying to represent the limited information that I have from a single documentary.
Well, incentives are weird in law because a prosecutor's job is not to find the truth. A prosecutor's job is to find the person guilty, to present evidence that makes the person look guilty to the best of his ability. And the defense attorneys is not to tell you whether his client is innocent or guilty. Sure. It's to assume he's innocent and try as hard as you can to prove his innocence.
And the thing that got me the most was during the trial, President Richard Nixon gets on air and says, Charles Manson is a killer. He did it. That depraved guy, yada, yada, yada. New York Times runs it. Nixon says Charles Manson. And Charles Manson is holding up this paper in court. And they go for a mistrial, and they don't get it. How does the President of the United States of America get to nationally condemn someone and not have a mistrial? I mean, I was blown away by this. And so then you listen to him. He's like, well, he drew a swastika on his head. This guy's messed up. Well, you really have to work to interpret what he says. But what he does say in a separate interview is, this is because these are the Nuremberg trials. And you guys don't care about the truth. You just want to lock me up. And so if you don't know, the Nuremberg trials are where all the Nazis after the war were essentially, all put in a room and said, you're bad, you're bad, you're bad, you're bad, you're bad, by the winning side of the war.
They were bad, though.
Sure. But I think actually, I don't know.
Easy, I'm Jewish.
I don't know a single
I get to play
thing
the Jew card
about a single
Careful.
person.
I'll cancel you. I'll get Justin in here in your seat.
It's totally possible that there were people in the Nuremberg, and I don't know any of their names.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it.
It's possible that there were people there that were clerks or whatever. I don't know what they did. And sure, maybe Goebbels was in there too. And it was like, okay, you're a bad guy.
You're a bad guy.
You're a bad guy.
For sure you. Maybe not you. Definitely you.
But I thought, it's fascinating to see. And I'm like, all right, you know what? 40 years after, the guy's already dead. I'm not going to investigate whether this is true or not. But I did not feel totally comfortable making a singular, like, Charles Manson is bad video. So what I stepped back to was a cult video.